Yay! It's the first video in our cozy fall series. We are going to paint a sunflower today, you probably already saw. And just coming in here with a light yellow, pretty watered down, and making a circle in the center of your paper or wherever you want to position your sunflower. I actually painted one yesterday. Somebody had requested that I make them a sunflower card that they're giving somebody today at an event they're going to. And I just did like a half of a sunflower on that. So I'll show you that in a little bit later in the video. All right, coming in with brown now and just dabbing into that yellow that's still wet and just kind of giving the suggestion of our seeds. We're going to go over that several more times. And I did get a little bit too much water, so I tapped my brush onto the paper towel and then tapping it back into that brown, which lifts the water back out. All right, I'm going to use the shape of our brush to make the shape of our petals. Coming in with the yellow, that is just a yellow ochre. If you want, if you just have a bright yellow, first of all, you can use that. If you want it to be a little more darker shade, just play around mixing in a little bit of brown, a little bit of orange with it. You can see my petals are not big enough, but I decided to go with it because you might only have one size of brush, and I want to show you how to sort of fix this. It could be helpful to use a bigger brush, but if you don't have one, just come back in while everything is still wet and add some color onto the sides to make them a little bit bigger. You could also just draw in the shape of and size of the petal that you want and then just color it in. But here I'm just adding some color. Going to speed it up because I'm just doing the same thing on each petal. If you're painting with me, just go ahead and pause as you draw in or paint in all of your petals. And you can adjust the little points there as you like. I am going up to a slightly larger brush, which you can see is not making much of a difference right here because I realized I'm not pushing down hard enough on my brush to let the bristles kind of spread out. So again, just kind of reshape it there with the tip, fill in the color as you see fit. And you can see on that one, I let the bristles spread a little bit more, but I'm going to slow down a little bit more, even more so on the next one to show you, just start with your point there and then really just slow it down, let your bristles spread out and then lift at the end. You can practice this on another sheet of paper, which maybe I should have done a little bit more, but just showing you when we make mistakes or things don't turn out the way we think we wanted them to, you can always just work with it, just play with it until it is the way you want it to be. And just going around and putting all of those orangish yellow petals in between the yellow petals that I laid down in the beginning. And you can see some of them got into that center circle, some of them are a little farther away, but that's okay. We're coming in now with our brown and kind of just making that circle the size that we want it to be. We're going over those yellow, or excuse me, the orange petals that maybe got into the circle a little too much. And in a little bit, we're going to bring that brown out into those petals up there at the top that didn't quite touch the center of the circle. So just dabbing brown in there again. And now we're going to just take the tip of our brush and we're going to kind of feather out that brown into the petals, just kind of wispy lines, dipping into the brown again because I need a little bit darker color there on that side of the circle and then pulling that color into the petals to give a little depth, a little color variation, and you can see it's just really making a nice difference. Coming in now, adding some red, orange, and yellow together, leaning more on the red side because I love sunflowers that have that red in them. They're just so rich. And I'm coming kind of on the outer portion of where I just pulled that brown out into the petals. And I'm going to go and do the same thing with the red, just kind of feathering it out and see how that's just adding to our flower. And coming in now, adding some of that color to the tips and also to the edges of some of the petals. I didn't do any red in the yellow first layer that we did. I'm just adding it to these the second layer of orange petals that I did. And some of them I'm putting the red on one side of the petal, and some of them I'm putting it on both sides. It's really just play with it until you like what it looks like. And now I'm cleaning my brush off and tapping it on my paper towel so that there's no drips, but my brush is wet. And I'm coming in and just blending those lines, just making those red lines softer because I don't like that hard edge, and blending it in with the orange, the yellowish orange color that is on that second layer of petals. You can see it just makes it nice and soft looking, just softening up those hard red lines. It just gives it kind of that painterly effect, and I just think it just makes it charming and adds, again, just a richness when you add those red colors in. Play with that until you like the look. And coming in now with some more brown into that center that had already dried and just darkening it up, adding some more seeds, a little variation of color in the center, adding some more in the direct center because we don't want it all to be white. You'll see if you look at images, there are quite a few sunflowers that have that light color. Coming in with our pens, you can use a Sharpie, you can use a Micron, you can really use any pen at this point because everything is dry. I have a size 8, I believe that was, white gel pen. And we'll go ahead and use our Sharpie. Again, you can use any pen because everything's dry and we're not adding any more water or paint to this. And we're just going to dab into the center of our sunflower, adding more seeds. And if you've watched a lot of watercolor artists, you'll see that a lot of them use Micron or another sort of water resistant or waterproof pen because some people add the pen at the beginning or in the middle of their project, and then they add paint on top of it. And you just don't want, generally speaking, you don't want that pen to bleed. Coming in with my white gel pen, and I am just adding some highlights on, actually, I did all of the petals, some on both sides, some on one side, just adding little highlights until I enjoy it. Put a few dots in the middle as well, just playing around and having fun. And coming back in with your black pen, I am just adding the shapes of the petals. And some of them I'm doing just outlining the shape that was already there, and others I am adding a wonkier shape than they were before. I like putting the black pen down and leaving some of the white of the paper showing because it just adds more to that whimsical effect that I love. Bringing that black down into some of the petals, just giving them more shape and definition until I like the look. And now I'm adding, kind of like we did with the brown and the red, just adding more shadows, depth to that center portion of the flower. And you can see I'm just scribbling lines in. I'm not giving much thought to this, just doing it until I like it. It's just such a sweet little flower, isn't it? And again, pen details, always optional. I don't know if I've ever mentioned, when you add pen to watercolor, it's called watercolor and ink or line and wash, any variation of those words. Some say ink and watercolor. So it's one of my favorite things, as you've noticed by now if you've been watching my videos. All right, loving this. It's dry, and so now I'm going to add some splatter at the end. You can add splatter right on top of the flower. I just decided I didn't want splatter over my entire flower, so I just grabbed a piece of scrap paper I had to put it on top. It's okay if splatter gets anywhere. It's all good. It's just fun. I'm just kind of starting in the corners, adding splatter, and then adding on the edges as well. And I would recommend waiting till the splatter's dry before you remove that paper, but I didn't. It can get messy if you accidentally drop the paper or it slides against the splatter. It would just look messy. But here we are, and all of it has dried, and so I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape. And the tape, again, was not to add any border. It's just, it was a guideline for me because I did buy myself a Dollar Tree frame. so I just needed a guideline so it would fit into that window perfectly. And sign your art. If you're giving this as a gift, people just like to have their art signed. And so even if you're not gifting it, if you're just decorating your home with it, it's just fun to have. Here is a close-up so you can see my scratchy lines and see how you might want to do it or might not want to do it. This is how I did it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think she's pretty sweet and, fairly simple. It's really a lot of repetitive things. Okay, here's my Dollar Tree frame. Again, $1.25. They say it's 4 by 4. They're just kidding. It's 3.5 by 3.5. So measure your paper as needed. And there you have it. Isn't it cute? And you guys, it's plastic. This is not wood. $1.25, what are you going to do? But up on a shelf, it'll look really cute. In a little gift basket if you're giving it to a friend or just whatever. It's adorable. And Dollar Tree never lets us down, right? They have black frames too. Now, I didn't realize until I took the plastic off that it's so shiny, but look, it gives your piece just a whole different look. It really makes that flower pop. I think it's adorable. If you remember from my video that was called Small Art, Big Impact, I think, I got this frame from Hobby Lobby with an oversized mat. And you can see my paper is smaller than the opening, so I just laid it in there as straight as I could. And then I laid a piece of black paper behind it so it looks like it's matted. Adorable. I think that looks so sweet. Speaking of adorable, I'm panning over so you can see the reflection of my beautiful willow girl. Hi, kitty girl. She's so cute. She is not allowed on surfaces except my painting table. And she's just a sweetheart and thinks she's pretty hot stuff that she can be up there and watch the neighborhood. Just love her. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Go ahead and hit the bell notification so you're notified of the next video. Take good care. Oh, I almost forgot to show you the greeting card I painted yesterday. Anyway, I took it to her house and she was like, "Why didn't you sign it?" So I did end up signing it, and hopefully the person she's giving it to will love it. All right. Take care for real this time. Bye.